Hey guys, Averey here with WZKD and Too Deep, probably better known as Hghtut. I'm going to be doing a little overview of my Tymna Dargo list. So recently we had the Albuquerque 10K, and I was able to pilot this list to 7th place. It's been my main deck list and main tournament list for the better part of a year now. This is going to serve probably less as a deck tech and more as a deck overview, discussing kind of like what I decided to take to the tournament, but also still going over some of the game plan of the list and some of the combos. So for those of you who don't know, this is Tymna Dargo. It is a Mardu, traditionally viewed as turbo deck. I like to call it a hybrid deck, to where it's able to go really fast, but it still has some grind game, and it is better at pivoting than it is going fast. You're never going to be faster than, say, Ral or Rogsai. You're not looking to just jam turn 2 every single game. So I'm sure most people know what Tymna does. Nice draw engine in the zone. Dargo is probably a little more of the unfamiliar one. It's getting a little more popular at this point, but we can just give it a read at first. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of artifacts and/or creatures. The spell costs 2 more to cast for each permanent sacrificed this way, and 2 less to cast, or 2 less to cast for each permanent sacrificed this way, and 2 less to cast for each other artifact or creature you've sacrificed this turn. And it has trample. Big 7 mana, 7/5. But traditionally and normally, we're only ever going to be casting Dargo for 1 red mana. The notable thing about Dargo, and the broken thing about Dargo, is that he sees himself be sacrificed on a turn, so he discards his own commander tax, meaning that on any given turn, if you're looping sacrificing Dargo, you will only ever cost 1 red mana to cast, which is very relevant for some of the combos that we'll see when we get into it. So I kind of wanted us to attack this list from the top to the bottom, as you would see it if you were to just jump into the deck list and start looking at it. I'll go over packages and combos as we get to them. So, starting off with the creature package, the first thing that we're going to notice, other than the Simian Spirit Guide, which is just the traditional ramp in cEDH, is a big package of 1-drops. So, these are extremely important to the Dargo game plan, and as well as to the Tymna game plan. It's kind of a good intersection between both of them. They let you get out bodies early that you can sacrifice, that you can draw with Tymna, and then when you're ready to go, you can sacrifice them to Dargo for the big discount. So the most notable ones, in my opinion here, are what we like to refer to as the treasure dorks. So we have, those would be the creatures that when they die, make a treasure. So we see here Greedy Freebooter, 1 mana, 1/1 human. When it dies, make a treasure. Impulsive Pilfer does the same thing. It's a goblin, 1 mana, 1/1 goblin. When it dies, make a treasure. And we have Shambling Ghast over here. It does the same thing. As you see, they each have another line of text. Most of them are irrelevant, but can come up. Greedy Freebooter lets you scry 1. Can be notable for things like Bolus of Sigil. Impulsive Pilfer has Encore, which can act as filtering in some really tough spots. 4 mana. When you sack Impulsive Pilfer, Encore it to make 3 more, sack it to get 3, sack all 3 to get 3 treasures. It has come up before. Shambling Ghast, when it dies, you can kill a creature, whether it be like a Bowmaster's or a Dork, I guess, if you want to. But 1 damage isn't irrelevant, or a -1/-1 isn't irrelevant in cEDH. These 3 slots are kind of the most important slots. In my opinion, they let you sacrifice them to Dargo to make a treasure, which then gives you another mana to do something like a Burnt Offering or a sacrifice directly after. The other slots are also very important as attackers and stuff, but they're a little more stably. We see the inclusion of things like Esper Sentinel, just one of the best cards around in cEDH, 1 mana, 1/1 draw engine. 6 around gets you cards. We see in my list Dragon's Reach Channeler. This is a flex slot. A lot of people will play Goblin Welder or Stitcher's Supplier in this slot. I like Dragon's Rage Channeler. I think it provides a lot of value. It's 1 mana, 1/1 human. When we cast this non-creature spell, Surveil 1, it allows for some early fixing. Say turn 1, Dragon's Rage Channeler into a Mox Amber or a Soul Ring or something like that. Lets you fix those early draws. It very quickly gets Delirium, which means it's a 3/3 flyer, so it's great for Tymna. But in addition, a Dragon's Rage Channeler being out with a Bolas's Citadel really helps on these Citadel turns to make sure you're not bricking, or with Underworld Breach out, it lets you feel that breach for that big combo turn. I really like Dragon's Rage Channeler in this slot. I value the consistency very highly. If we jump over, we'll see Hope of Gearper. I think Hope of Gearper is probably one of the best cards in this deck. Just a 1 mana, 1/1 flyer. Notably, it is a legendary artifact. This is notable for things like Mox Opal, letting you turn on Metalcraft early, and the legendary means that it can tap to Relic of Legends, which is notable. Sometimes you don't need the attack, sometimes you need the mana more. But the other lines of text in this are also very relevant. It being a flyer means it's a great Tymna attacker, and it is effectively a 1-mana orange chant, or it is effectively just an orange chant. If it connects with somebody, you can sacrifice it to silence them for the turn. On early turns, this can mean the difference between winning and losing. Sometimes there's only one opponent that's prepared with interaction, and being able to shut them out can be enough just to get there. One of the funniest inclusions in the deck, and now almost super staple for Dargo Tymna lists that we get the most questions about in the Discord, is Mardu Devotee. It's a 1 mana, 1/2 human. When it enters, scry 2, and once per turn you can filter mana into Mardu colors. Extremely, extremely good. In a deck that's looking to end the game anywhere from turn 2 to turn 4, an early scry 2 is awesome for selection. Lets you set up those next draws, or say, again, going back to Citadel, if you're on a Citadel turn, you can drop a Mardu Devotee and get those scries to get the lands off the top. But yeah, a 1 mana, 1/2 body is very awesome for Tymna attacks early. It's hard to kill with Bowmasters, a little harder to block. It trades favorably into other things. And another thing is that it's a human. This is the human typing is very notable for this deck, and we'll figure out why in a little bit. Ragban, cEDH All-Star right here. It's even better in this list. It's a Tymna attacker, but also creating treasures is really good for Dargo. Not much to say about Ragban. Really good card. If we move on, we'll see that we have a couple of 2-drops here. Archivist Ogma is not a very common include in this list. Personally, I really like it. I think it's really good on mulligans. You can mulligan low into a Archivist of Ogma and be fine. It often draws a lot of cards. The argument against it is sometimes it will do nothing, but at the very least it's a 2-mana flash body that can attack for Tymna. So any extra cards that it draws is just a cherry on top. You'll see a trend in this list that there's not many ways to draw cards outside of Tymna. We see Esper Sentinel here, and traditionally that's the only other way to draw cards in most Dargo Tymna lists. So if the Tymna plan isn't available, it's really hard to get cards in your hand. So I like to have an Archivist in here just as another way to get cards in hand if that Tymna plan is shut down. Goblin Engineer is an interesting include here because we have an exclusion of Goblin Welder, obviously in favor of Dragon's Rage Channeler. That being said, I think Goblin Engineer is just an extremely good card in this list, albeit it is a little slow, but a lot of our combo pieces go through artifacts. I can go over a little bit of the combo package since it's relevant to Goblin Engineer. So when this enters the battlefield, you can tutor up an artifact to the graveyard, and it lets you swap an artifact from the graveyard in the battlefield as long as the artifact in the graveyard is 3 mana value or less. Notably, we have a combo package with Dargo that includes infinitely sacrificing Dargo to effects like Goblin Bombardment and Altar of Dementia. The way you do this is, since Dargo on a turn, as long as you sacrifice enough things, will only ever cost 1 red pip to cast. If you have a way to generate a pip from casting Dargo, Dargo can pay for his own cast, so you can just sacrifice him and then have him pay to recast himself. Ways this happens is through things like Burgi. So when you cast Dargo, you make a red mana from Burgi. That red mana from Burgi can be used to cast Dargo again after you sacrifice him. Another way to do that, which is relevant to Goblin Engineer, is Relic of Legends. If you have Relic of Legends out, when you cast Dargo, you can tap him down to Relic of Legends ability to add 1 red mana, which means when you sacrifice him, you can cast him again. So Goblin Engineer can bin up this Relic of Legends if you have a sack outlet already or are planning on getting one, Altered Dimension and Goblin Bombardment being the main two, so that you can just combo off through sacrificing Dargo. Notably, it also grabs Altered Dimension in case you have Burgi or Relic of Legends already. Another really big one it can grab is Altar of the Wretched. When this enters the battlefield, you can sacrifice a creature, and then you draw X and mill X where X is the sacrifice creature's power. So obviously, Dargo is the big target here, 7/5. You draw 7, mill 7. So being able to just play Goblin Engineer, bin an Altar of the Wretched, use 1 red mana off the Engineer to reanimate it, sacrificing Dargo, is really good. It's effectively a better than a 1 mana one-sided wheel. Notably as well, we can bin up just a Vexing Bauble if you need protection, a Wishclaw Talisman if you need a tutor, and then this is another one that's an interesting include, but one that I often bin with Goblin Engineer, Pyre of Heroes. So this is effectively Birthing Pod, but since we're not in green, it has to have a couple more restrictions. It costs 2 mana to activate rather than 1 in a Phyrexian, and the sacrifice creature also has to share a creature type. So this is notable, and why I mentioned the human typing on these 1-drops, because if you have a 1-drop human and you sacrifice it to Pyre of Hero, you can get a 2-drop human. 2-drop humans include Voice of Victory and Grand Abolisher, which are really good for winning the game. This is a way for us to get a Grand Abolisher effect onto the battlefield through an activated ability rather than a cast, so it makes it very hard to interact with. Beyond that, Pyre of Heroes also works in combination with Tymna, but since we're talking about Goblin Engineer, I'll get into that a little later. But those are the notable targets for Goblin Engineer, so you can see it's pretty versatile and has a lot of play in the list. Notably, it can also just be used to entomb something with a Breach Out. If you have a Breach Out, you can just cast your Goblin Engineer, bin your Lion's Eye Diamond, go from there. Next up, we have Grand Abolisher. And here I could just use this moment to talk about our Silence package in this deck, Silence-Grand Abolisher package. So we can see we have Grand Abolisher, Hexing Squelcher, Voice of Victory, Ranger Captain, and then for spells we have Orm, Shant, and Silence. We're in Mardu. We don't have blue to back up our wins. The best thing for us to do then is to just silence everybody so they can't stop our wins. Grand Abolisher effects are extremely potent in cEDH, and really don't have much to say about them. Get them down, win the game. Only thing that can stop you from that point are channel abilities. Moving on from that, we have Lotho. Lotho is just an all-star at this point. A little 2-mana guy, makes you treasures. Notably, it's a lot better because we care more about treasures. They are technically 3 mana towards Dargo. Again, Magda, another little treasure generator. It's an attacker for Tymna. Makes treasures, and we have a lot of ways to make treasures in this list. So having an outlet to tutor up something is pretty nice. It's not super relevant, but it has happened. Say you can just sacrifice 5 treasures to go get something like a Bolas Citadel or a Wishclaw Talisman. There is also ways to make infinite treasures in this list. So Magda can act as the outlet to convert those infinite treasures into a win. I chose to be on Orcish Bowmasters for this tournament, which sounds like it should be obvious, but I often don't play Orcish Bowmasters in this list. I think Orcish Bowmasters is a very reactive card and doesn't do much for a proactive game plan. That being said, 2 mana for 2 bodies in this list is very good. It acts as two attackers sometimes for Tymna, while also being 2 bodies to sacrifice the Dargo. So the rate of 2 mana for 2 bodies is really good, and this having upside is awesome. I will tend to play something like a Johnny in this list. I don't know. Yeah, a Johnny. He's in my sideboard here for the same reason. 2 mana for 2 bodies, except a Johnny can't, on the backside, acts as removal and isn't easily copyable. The reason I often don't play Orcish Bowmasters is I lean very heavily into the Tymna plan. If my Bowmasters gets copied, Tymna plan is completely shut down, which plays into that whole idea that I said where in this list, you can see that we don't have many ways outside of Tymna to draw cards. So if my Tymna plan is shut down, I often have a lot of trouble getting cards into hand, which usually results in me losing. Card advantage is king. So if we move over, we'll see Tataru. Same reason Lotho's in the list. 2 mana makes treasures. Treasures are really good. On top of that, the card draw that it gives, the fact that it replaces itself is really good, but that card draw is also amazing for very strange lines sometimes. You can do things like Imperial Seal or Vamp Tutor. Where's Vamp Tutor? Imperial Seal or Vamp Tutor, and then use Tataru to crack it if you don't have access to a Tymna draw. So just the 2 mana treasure engine that can also crack a top deck tutor or get you or replaces itself early. It's a legend. It synergizes with Magda as well. You can attack with Tataru with the Magda out to create a treasure, or you can tap it to Relic of Legends while Magda is out to make a treasure. We've already went over Voice of Victory. Bergi, big combo piece. This is kind of a staple in a lot of red lists, as Bergi is just a good card on both sides, but it is a combo piece for Dargo as well, as just being a good card. That generating 1 mana can allow for very tight lines to be put together outside of the combo, but also just having it be a combo piece on top of that is very nice. So that being said, I know a lot of lists that include it will often sometimes cast the backside, especially for like breach turns or with wheels. But this in this deck, 99% of the time is cast for the front side just because it is also a combo piece. Moving on, we see Imperial Recruiter. This one's kind of debatable in this list. We've had a lot of discussions over it recently, especially because notably it's just very slow. 3 mana tutor for a conditional tutor. Often have trouble converting this into a win on the turn, depending on how you play it. I often don't play Imperial Recruiter unless I can convert it into a win on the turn. But Imperial Recruiter grabs a lot of very important pieces in this list, mainly the protection pieces. So your Squelcher, Grand Abolisher, Voice of Victory. It can also grab, say, Magda if you need to outlet treasures. Orcish Bowmasters can act as an outlet for some of our combos as well, so that's a notable grab. You can grab an Esper Sentinel or a Dragsbury Channeler if you're in a really bad spot, so on and so forth. But having a tutor on a creature that can go get a creature protection piece is very strong in this meta, in my opinion. You're not triggering fish, and you're dodging most of the interaction here. So, like notably in the 10K here, the Albuquerque 10K, I used Imperial Recruiter to grab a Hexing Squelcher so that I could get one of my wins, whereas if I would have had any other tutor, likely wouldn't have gotten there because there was a Fierce Guardianship plus a Force of Negation in hand, I believe, in my opponent's hands. So this Imperial Recruiter getting me to Hexing Squelcher really worked out well. Also notably, I want to say this deck makes a lot of mana. So a lot of the time, the 3 mana premium on this, I'm willing to pay. The one I was talking about, I did this on turn 2. So I went Imperial Recruiter into Hexing Squelcher, cast the Hexing Squelcher, and still had mana to win after that. So yeah, I think Imperial Recruiter is really good, and it's even better in the current meta. Professional Facebreaker is just a great Tymna attacker that makes a lot of treasures and technically acts as pseudo card advantage. If you have something like Smothering Tithe out, you're able to just start flipping cards very liberally with Professional Facebreaker. But also, as I mentioned, some of our combos that I'll go over once we get to these pieces make infinite treasures, and sometimes, most of the time, they can win on their own, but sometimes we need an outlet for those infinite treasures. And Professional Facebreaker just lets you exile your whole deck. Very good outlet. Notably, Imperial Recruiter can also grab a Professional Facebreaker in those situations. I mentioned Ranger Captain of Eos when I talked about the Creature Silence package, but I will give it another shout out. I think Ranger Captain of Eos is one of the, if not, it's one of the top 3 strongest cards in all of cEDH, in my opinion. Crazy creature, having a non-creature silence on a creature body that is activated through an ability is insane. And the fact that you can develop a Ranger Captain of Eos and tutor up a proactive 1-drop or a engine makes it a whole lot better. You're able to present this piece that can either stop someone from winning or protect your win while also developing your board state in a useful way. It does a whole lot. I just wanted to shout it out again. So Jolly Balloon Man, this is mainly a combo piece. So I will go over the combos that it is a part of here, or the one combo that it is a part of here. Jolly Balloon Man it's like a mini Kiki Jiki. You can pay 1 mana, tap it to create a copy of a creature with flying and haste. So mainly this combos with another one of our very important pieces, Ruthless Technomancer. So I'll read Ruthless Technomancer's text because it's super important here. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. You then create treasures equal to the power of the sacrificed creature. So the very obvious thing you do here is with Dargo, you just get Dargo out, cast Ruthless Technomancer, make 7 treasures, then you have 7 treasures, and you can use it to do a lot of things. Peer into the Abyss, Beseech the Mirror, Nas, Citadel, etc., etc. But we have combos with Ruthless Technomancers to make infinite treasures. And one of those pieces is Jolly Balloon Man. So if you get 2 copies of Ruthless Technomancer in any kind of way, you're able to produce infinite treasures. So what you can do is you play Ruthless Technomancer, sacrifice Dargo, make your treasures, recast Dargo for 1 mana, cast Jolly Balloon Man, or if it's already on the battlefield, then just activate Jolly Balloon Man's ability to copy Ruthless Technomancer. Copy Ruthless Technomancer will enter, you'll sacrifice Dargo, and then you'll have 2 Ruthless Technomancers. So what that lets you do then is use Ruthless Technomancer's second ability to create a loop. So the second ability says, 2 in a black, sacrifice X artifacts, return target creature card with power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. X cannot be 0. So what you can do is then recast Dargo, sacrificing the original Ruthless Technomancer as an additional cost, and then using the copy of Ruthless Technomancer's ability here to reanimate the original. When it enters sacrifice Dargo, you'll make 7 more treasures. So this loop of sacrificing Ruthless Technomancer, reanimating it to sacrifice Dargo again, costs you 6 treasures, but makes you 7. So then you can just, every iteration of the loop, you make 1 treasure. So eventually you just make infinite treasures. I guess that one's a little complicated, so we can just show it off over here. So if we grab our Ruthless Technomancer and our Jolly Balloon Man, then we can show it off. So say we had the mana and the creatures to cast a Dargo, make a Dargo 1 mana. So we cast Dargo, and then we have the mana to cast a Ruthless Technomancer. We're holding Jolly Balloon Man in hand. We cast a Ruthless Technomancer, we trigger its ETB, sacrifice Dargo. We'll make these 7 treasures. Obviously we send Dargo to the command zone. We then use 1 treasure. There's 6 left over here to cast Dargo. We'll then use 3 treasures to cast the Jolly Balloon Man, 1 treasure to activate Jolly Balloon Man to make a copy of Ruthless Technomancer. We will then trigger its ETB, sacrificing Dargo to make 7 more treasures. We'll then use 1 treasure to recast Dargo, sacrificing Ruthless Technomancer as an additional cost. We can then activate Ruthless Technomancer's ability. So we'll pay the 3 mana, 1, 2, 3. Trigger its activated ability. We will sacrifice 2 things to reanimate 2 power. I don't know if this ability. Okay, it is searching graveyard. Okay. So then we'll reanimate. We had sacrificed 2 more. Boom. ETB for their original, trigger ETB, sacrifice Dargo. sacrifice Dargo, send to the command zone, make 7 treasures. So then you can see, well, then we have the 7 treasures here. We can spend 1 of the 7 to cast Dargo, sacrificing this one, pay 3 mana, 1, 2, 3, sacrifice 2 more things, 1, 2, to reanimate Ruthless Technommancer. And so we've net 1 treasure for these loops. So it just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. You can present a loop, make infinite treasures. From here, with Jolly Balloon Man, if you are pre-combat, what you can do is, on the iterations where you cast Dargo, you sacrifice both Ruthless Technomancer and Jolly Balloon Man. Or you don't even have to sacrifice Ruthless Technomancer anymore, but you can if you want to keep netting treasures. But you just need to sacrifice the Jolly Balloon Man, and then you use Ruthless Technomancers to reanimate it. Then you activate to create another copy, sacrificing Dargo. Boom, recast Dargo, sacrifice Jolly Balloon Man, reanimate, make a copy. And you can see where we're going with this. We make infinite flying, hasty Ruthless Technomancers. So if you have Jolly Balloon Man and Ruthless Technomancer, and you're in pre-combat, this is just a win. If you're post-combat, this does not win, but makes you infinite treasures. And that's where things like Magda, Professional Facebreaker, and Orcish Bowmasters come in. Because infinite mana, because instead of making post-combat, instead of making infinite copies of Ruthless Technomancer, with that infinite mana, you can make infinite copies of Orcish Bowmasters and ping the table down. Then Professional Facebreaker instead lets you exile your whole deck. And Magda lets you go tutor up things. So you can tutor up Ballista Citadel if you want to have fun, but the easiest way to do it is you just tutor up a Wishclaw Talisman and then go tutor the next piece that you need to win. You can tutor up the Orcish Bowmasters, or you can tutor up another combo piece like Deadpool, which we'll go over now. So Deadpool does the same thing. You can see, for those of you who don't know what Deadpool does, as it enters the battlefield, you may exchange its text box and another creature's text box. It's kind of a clone and kind of a Gilded Drake at the same time. So since it's kind of a clone, it works in these combos. Like I said, a copy of Ruthless Technomancer makes infinite treasures. So you play Ruthless Technomancer, sacrifice your Dargo, play your Deadpool, or recast your Dargo, play your Deadpool, stealing Ruthless Technomancer's text box. Then you get your second Ruthless Technomancer, and you're able to sacrifice Dargo again, recast it, sacrifice the original, but now you have Deadpool, who has Ruthless Technomancer's text box, so you're able to use the ability to reanimate Ruthless Technomancer, and you start the same loop I showed off before. This, though, just wins. Deadpool and Ruthless Technomancer are a combo on their own. They will just win the game. Once you've established infinite treasures, like I had shown before, you can then sack Deadpool as you cast Dargo, and then use Ruthless Technomancers to reanimate Ruthless Technomancer's ability to reanimate Deadpool. Reanimating Deadpool gets, you can then steal no text boxes and then use his second activated ability here. Use his activated ability here. 3 mana, sacrifice him, each other player draws a card to just draw your opponents out. Since sacrificing is a part of the cost of activating this ability, there's no point in time that your opponents can stop you. This wins through anything short of a trick bind, and even through a trick bind, you can just do this in someone's upkeep. Your opponents may want to argue that you're drawing them their deck and that they can respond, but if they ever try to put something on the stack, you can either sacrifice Ruthless Technomancer, sacrifice Deadpool to make them draw a card on top of it, or activate Ruthless Technomancer's ability to reanimate Deadpool. So you'll just bury whatever they're doing on the stack with infinite draws. Just keep going and going and going, draw your opponents out. It's a win right there. I think this was one of the more potent combos in the deck, especially since it's an all-creature combo. I've many times baited my opponents into cracking a Ranger Captain on my turn so that they could protect my Deadpool Ruthless Technomancer combo. The 1/4 we skipped over here is Academy Rector. Academy Rector is a very powerful effect that just lets you tutor any enchantment from your deck onto the battlefield and just put it there without ever casting it. Academy Rector gets very powerful when we have a sack outlet in the command zone. So you're able to just get Academy Rector onto the battlefield, either cast it or Notably, we had talked about Pyre of Heroes. Pyre of Heroes, Academy Rector, even though it doesn't say so, is a human. Let's see. We use the, where is it? Where's view details? View details. If we view details, we'll see that it was the Oracle text has it as a human, even though it only says cleric here. So Academy Rector is in fact a human. So you can, it's a 4 mana human. And notably, we have a 3 mana human in the command zone. So you can Pyre of Heroes, sacrifice Tymna to get a Rector. Then for 1 mana, you have a sack outlet for your Academy Rector in the command zone. So then you're able to just cast Dargo, sacrifice Academy Rector as an additional cost, and go put any one of these enchantments into play. Obviously, Uncountable Breach is extremely powerful. Early Necropotence, even later Necropotence, can just be game-winning. Getting either of these onto the battlefield without a spot for your opponents to be able to use a counterspell is very, very good. If you know the game's going along, spinning up a Smothering Tithe is not a bad idea, though I've never done it. It is an option. I have, in fact, used it to get Goblin Bombardment, because sometimes you just need the other piece, the B-side to your A plus B combo. I have a Relic or a Birdie out, and my only tutor in hand is Academy Rector. Well, that puts Goblin Bombardment onto the battlefield. I've also used it to grab removal to get rid of something like a Dranith. You know, something that stops us. Notably, the thing I didn't talk about with Deadpool, and jump back to this real quick, is that it's technically removal. If your opponent has a Dranith Magistrate and you need it gone, you can just steal the Dranith Magistrate's text box with Deadpool, and then it requires more mana. If you use Deadpool before you go for your combo, it requires a lot more mana to start that combo up, because if you're doing Ruthless Technomancer, the 5 power is pretty expensive for Ruthless Technomancer's ability, but it is possible. Alright, back to Academy Rector. Yeah, just putting these enchantments into play uncountably, very, very good. And then being able to grab it off of Pyre is awesome as well. While we're on the topic of Pyre, I should also mention that the piece that I go for more often with Pyre of Heroes is the fact that Ruthless Technomancer is also a 4 mana human. So being able to Pyre Tymna into Technomancer for Dargo to pop off with any of the other effects, our combo or the other things I'll go over, like Peering to the Abyss, very, very good. Pyre is a contentious piece in this list. Not everyone plays it, not everyone likes it. I personally love it. I think it goes very well and complements a Tymna-centric game plan very highly. A lot of people think we need a lot of 4-drop humans to go along with Tymna if we want to be on the Pyre plan to make it worthwhile. I don't personally agree with that thought process. I legitimately think that Pyre of Heroes as a tutor for Ruthless Technomancer, or sometimes for a Grand Abolisher, or in the case of Impulsive Pilfer, for Hexing Sculpture, is good enough. In my current test list, where I made changes based on what I saw in the tournament, I have actually cut Academy Rector from my list, and the only Pyre target that I have for Tymna is Ruthless Technomancer. But that goes over our creature package. So let's move on to our sorceries. Here we have not a lot of very notable things. We have our tutors. These are just the common tutors that we see in cEDH all the time. Gamble, Imperial Seal. Nothing much to say about them. Gamble is extremely good with Breach. Gamble is just 1 mana unconditional tutor to hand is very good. Imperial Seal being a top deck tutor, awesome. Here we see we have Infernal Plunge. This is traditionally only played in like Rograk decks, but sacrifice effects are very good in this deck. Either just to sacrifice Dargo, since you only ever cast 1, it's a positive. You cast Dargo, Infernal Plunge him to net mana, also get 3 more red mana to replay him if you need to. But along with all of our 1-drops, it lets us convert those 1-drops into value. These sacrifice effects like Infernal Plunge alongside the Treasure Dorks is very, very good. Represents 4 mana rather than 3, which lets us do a lot. This is a lot more notable when we look at things like Culling the Weak, which is a lot better and played more often on a lot more lists for that reason. Culling the Weak on a Treasure Dork lets you cast ad nauseum, right? So these effects are very good when we have these little guys just sitting around. Being able to convert that Tymna draw, early draws, into big value is awesome. Notably as well, in case you didn't realize, these sacrifice effects where we're just sacrificing creatures do discount Dargo. You don't have to sacrifice the things to Dargo directly in order to discount him. So Infernal Plunge shows up as a very good card here, even though we don't have a 0-drop in the zone. We can see here I chose to play a raw Reanimate. I do not have an Entomb. I do not have a big target to cheat out. Some people are playing Razaketh in place of Peer into the Abyss for this Reanimate to have a big target. So you'd play Reanimate, Entomb, Razaketh. I opted not to do that. I tested the Razaketh package a lot, and the thing that stood out to me as a big, good card is Reanimate on its own. Crazy enough, in a deck where we tend to sacrifice our board to a big guy in the command zone in order to get him out, just reanimating a value piece can be really nice. I have multiple times gone Ruthless Technomancer, sacrifice Dargo, make 7 treasures, cast it, sacrifice Ruthless Technomancer, reanimate the Technomancer for 7 more treasures. So just interesting play patterns like that are very good. I have reanimated other people's Ranger Captains. It lets you refire if somebody is able to counter your Grand Abolishers, or say you played an early Voice of Victory to get Tymna draws and it got killed. You can just reanimate that Voice of Victory. I also have people who play Hulk in my meta, so I have sniped a Hulk off of an Entomb. I think Reanimate is just a very good card. It's very versatile. It then also, I guess something I should go over with Imperial Recruiter is a line that I don't think about very often, but now that I see Reanimate, it reminds me. It costs a ton of mana, but Imperial Recruiter is technically a 1 card in this list as well. Imperial Recruiter gets both Ruthless Technomancer and Jolly Balloon Man. So you can go about this in 2 ways. You can either play Imperial Recruiter to get Jolly Balloon Man, play Jolly Balloon Man, copy Imperial Recruiter to get Technomancer, and then start the Technomancer loop with Dargo by sacking Dargo. By making the treasures off of Dargo, and then when you recast Dargo, sacking the Jolly Balloon Man to reanimate it and make your copy. Or you can do it the other way, where you get Technomancer first, cast it, and then reanimate Imperial Recruiter after you sack it to Dargo to get Jolly Balloon Man and then start the loop. The reason Reanimate reminded me of this was because you can just Imperial Recruiter, get one of these pieces, cast Dargo, sack Imperial Recruiter, get Reanimate, and reanimate Imperial Recruiter, which discounts the line. So just, stuff like that. I think Reanimate was very versatile. It came up as a very good card in my top 16. It's probably the only reason I was relevant in the game for as long as I was, and was able to negotiate a deal, which, well, while it ended up in the match going to time, did give me a chance to win. I was able to reanimate my own Ranger Captain to stay relevant after I had cracked it, or rather after it had been killed before I went for a push. So the end board state of that push was I had punted my line, nearly got there but didn't quite get there, and I was able to back up into just reanimating the Ranger Captain to prevent the other players from winning before it made it back to my turn. Very, very good card. I'm currently testing without it, but that is a very hesitant test. If any of the cards in my test list if I don't end up liking any of the cards in my test list, Reanimate is one of the first cards that comes back in for sure. Red of Flame, Demonic Tutor, Diabolic Intent, all just very stably cards. Lively Dirge is one that we don't often see. I think it's seeing more play in different lists now, but very, very good card. I've heard people equate this to effectively a green tutor. For 5 mana, you get to Entomb and Reanimate. So I guess we can just go over the pieces individually. So it has a 2 mana value, but it does nothing, and you can't just cast it for 2. You have to choose one of the sprees. So if you pay 1 more mana, you get an Entomb. If you pay 2 more mana, you get a Reanimate of up to 2 creatures, mana value 4 or less total. If you pay for both, you get the Entomb and then the Reanimate. Notably, entombing and being able to reanimate 4 cost gets us anything in our list. We don't play anything over 4 right now. So you can just pay 5 mana, and it tutors a Ruthless Technommancer to the battlefield. Tutors a Rector to the battlefield, so on and so forth. Notably as well, some interesting use cases for this can be like, if you need a Bargy, and you've already sacrificed the Treasure Dork, you can go entomb and reanimate the Burgie and bring a Treasure Dork along with it, so that maybe it lets you cast Dargo, or you have a sack outlet and you need to make a treasure, whatever it may be, right? There are some valuable 3 mana pieces or even 2 mana pieces in this list that you can just bring something back that you had sacked along the way. Maybe you get your Hope of Gearper back. You know, whatever it may be. But Lively Dirge is very, very good in this list. I've won many games off of fully spreeing a Lively Dirge. Safine's Wreck, classic card. We play Breach. We play Altar of Dementia. Part of some of our lines include infinitely milling everyone out. Milling people out and then passing is not very good. So being able to mill yourself out and then flashback your Safine's Wreck to get your Breach so that you can just win a different way is very good. Beseech the Mirror. This is pretty common throughout. Again, it freely casts any of our important pieces. Only things in this list they can't freely cast are our really big pieces, like Pier and Citadel. Very good card. We have a lot of treasures lying around. Bargaining this is super easy. Let's talk about the big boy, Peer into the Abyss. Very scary card. Can be deflecting swatted, can be misdirected, can be redirect lightning, and all of those things, but its power is undeniable. At 7 mana, it may seem crazy to cast, but there's 2 big things that we play in the list that let us do it quickly and early. So Burnt Offering and Sacrifice, they let you sacrifice a creature and then make you mana equal to creature's casting cost. Dargo, cast it for 1, sacrifice it for 1, make 7 mana. 7 mana is crazy enough, exactly how much you need to cast Peer into the Abyss. Drawing half your deck will win you the game 99% of the time. In the year that I've played this deck, I have whiffed 1 time on Peer into the Abyss, and I still won that game but I did have to pass, which was hilarious. Extremely bad luck, but like I said, 99% of the time, drawing half your deck will just win you the game. Notably, never recommend casting Peer into the Abyss without a Grand Abolisher or a Silence out first. It is very, very scary. This is the one piece we play that can very, very easily just throw the game to your opponents. Jumping down to instants now. Due to the fact that we're a Mardu deck, we don't play a lot of interaction because we don't have the luxury of playing a lot of interaction. We don't have access to the premium blue spells, so we have to gear our interaction to being to mainly just helping us win, either stopping things that stop us from winning or doing the double duty of stopping other people and also protecting our win if we need it. Deflecting SWAT is at a premium. In my test list, I've also gone up Redirect Lightning. I think these deflecting SWAT effects are amazing right now, and I wish we had more of them. That is because while letting us fight on the stack as well, say in a long stack battle, this isn't where we want to be, but it is a use case. We can help out. It's effectively a counterspell for counterspells. But the bigger thing for us is the fact that if we manage to land a Grand Abolisher, the one thing that can stop us is channel abilities. The one thing that stops channel abilities is swats. You can swat an Odawara to something else, swat the Boseiju, the Sky Turtle, the Touch the Spirit Realm, whatever it may be. But swats are the only thing that can answer those. So that's why I've gone up Redirect Lightning in my test list. A lot of people look at SWAT, and I've heard a lot of discussion in the Discord about not wanting to play it, simply because in a lot of the cases when we're Dargo looping, we don't actually have a commander out. Like I said, I am very Tymna-centric. I think Tymna is on the battlefield in 95% of games that I play, and I tend to keep Tymna out even when I'm looping. I don't like cannibalizing my board to Dargo. I think it puts us in a very bad position if somebody does end up having something to stop us. So I tend to leave as much on the board as I can. So I like to leave Tymna out just in case I can get into a SWAT. Moving on, we have Burnt Offering. This Burnt Offering and this Sacrifice are one of, if not the biggest reason to be playing Dargo in black. The ability to just play out some guys, cast Dargo for 1 mana, and then Burnt Offering to get 7 mana is insane. There are many ways that this can result in a turn 1 win via Dargo. We have things like Prize Statue, and then any mana rock where you can just power these things out to get Dargo out immediately, to then just Burnt Offering or sacrifice him to peer into the abyss, or Bolus the Citadel, or Nas with mana left up. Very, 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 very strong. One of the main reasons to play this deck. Calling the Weak. I had gone over this briefly, saying that Calling the Weak on a Treasure Dork can get us to Nas, so on and so forth. Just a very good card. We like the sacrifice effects. We like mana. This does both. Dark Ritual. Enough said. It's Dark Ritual. +2 Ritual. Awesome. We have a lot of black pips in the deck. Any black deck should be playing Dark Ritual. Not much to say. Inline Tutor, classic tutor, gets us a lot of our combo pieces, gets us our strong enchantments, gets us really strong artifacts. Very, very good. Orange Chant, a 1-man silence, still sometimes is just enough to get there. It can stop the faster decks from winning before us as well. I have many times needed to Orange Chant a Rao or a Roxai so that I can make it to the turn where I can win. Just a good piece. I think most decks are playing this in the current meta, and they should be, if they're not. Sacrifice, moving over with Burnt Offering, extremely good. Silence, the classic. Protect a win, stop a win. Offensive and defensive. Amazing card. A lot of Tymna Dargo lists opt to not play something in this slot. A lot of them are playing something like Claim the Firstborn, even though it's sorcery speed, it's a little more proactive for our game plan. I value instant speed very highly still. Instant speed interaction. This sorts of Plowshares can stop someone from winning. It can free us from pieces that are stopping us from winning. I think it's very good. That being said, in my test list, I have swapped this for a Pyroblast, as I think a lot of the things that I want to stop are blue anyway. So, and then I also want to see how useful it is to be stopping these Rhystic Studies from coming down in these Rhystic slop games. So, I still think Source of Plowshares is a great card. If Pyroblast doesn't work out as a good card for my list, then I will be going back on Swords. But just the removal was very awesome. I was able to stop an early Rogside push in one of my games at the 10K via just Swords on their Rog to turn them off of 2 mana. They still ended up getting there, but it made it a lot harder for them. The Vampiric Tutor, classic. Instant speed, top deck tutor, unconditional. Great card. Cabal Ritual, classic. Final Fortune, another one that is just a classic. That being said, I have gone up another turn effect in my test list. I think the play pattern, especially right now, of Grand Abolisher into extra turn is awesome. In a Tymna-centric deck or a Tymna-centric playstyle like mine, being able to have Tymna out, go Grand Abolisher into Final Fortune, untap all of my permanents, and draw 3 cards with Tymna is usually enough to get there. In tournaments, not at the 10K, but in other tournaments, I have just had 3 attackers out, not had any win in my hand, but had a Grand Abolisher and a Final Fortune, and just slammed Abolisher into Final Fortune and drew 4 more cards, because in this deck we have such a high density of good hits that I often trust that I will get there through that. Soul Partition. This is unconditional non-permanent removal. Non-land permanent removal. Just versatile and good. That's really all there is to it. Gets rid of pieces that stop us. Can stop other people's wins. I've stopped a Blue Farm's Breach win in a tournament in order to see my turn so that I could get the win instead. Like I said, I value the instant speed removal very highly. Very, very good. Tainted Pact. It's just here as a tutor. Notably, I guess there's the interaction where you can reanimate somebody's Thassa's Oracle and then Tainted Pact on top of the trigger. I've never done that, but it is an option. But Tainted Pact, we just use it as the cursed tutor that it is. If you have an A side of an A plus B combo in your hand, like a Bergie, or on the battlefield, like a Bergie, then you really don't need much else in your deck other than the B side. So you can just eat that whole deck into exile and grab that B side. Nas, we're a little more of a chunky deck. You may think that Nas is very dangerous with a Peer into the Abyss and a Wallace and Citadel on the list, but our Nas curve isn't terrible. We're at 144 right now. I have played this list at a 158 Nas, and it still just converts. The card is insane. Notably has very good play patterns off of Burnt Offering and Sacrifice, letting you go for a main phase Nas with mana up, even if you have to tap out to do this. I have also done that at instant speed to grab a win in a tournament where I have played out Dargo, passed my turn, waited for the window to show, Burnt Offering my Dargo, floating 2 red to add Nas into a Final Fortune in order to snipe that window. I think Adasium is just everyone knows it's an amazing card, but I'm saying even in these chunkier lists, I think it still just gets there. It's still just an amazing card. Our ability to make a lot of mana quickly and for cheap, Infernal Plunge, Burnt Offering, Sacrifice, Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Culling the Weak, all of the free rocks, etc., is very, very high. So converting a Nas is relatively easy. Looking at our artifact suite, we have mainly the staples, all of our pieces that just make mana. We have a Vexing Bubble. Notably, this is a Nombo with Bolas's Citadel, but it's totally worthwhile. You can just play your pieces off of the top into a bauble, letting them get countered until, say, if you haven't played a land for turn, you find a land, so you can crack your bauble. Or sometimes you just end up getting into a Hexing Squelcher off the top, and then you can just play it through the bauble, or maybe you already had it out, so the bauble doesn't matter. There's just so much free interaction going on right now and going around that an early Vexing Bauble kind of can shut everyone down and open up your window to win. Altar of Dementia, I went over this before. With any of our mana pieces to the A plus B mana sacrifice combos, just lets us infinitely mill people. You can, and I have just milled people out and passed. It's not recommended. You shouldn't do it if you can avoid it. You can just Altar of Dementia, Flashback, Gate Breach, and then use Deadpool to draw people out, because you'll see a notable exclusion of Wheel of Fortune from this list. Deadpool is the way you can draw people out. If you get a Breach, though, you can just infinitely mill yourself, have access to your whole library, and perform any of your combos. You can get back to a Goblin Bombardment instead and just kill the table. Or you can set up infinite treasures. Whatever it may be. But this is just part of those infinite sacrifices. Very, very good. We still play Arcane Signet, just a good card. Can sack to Dargo. Prize Statue. Now this is another one, like Mardu Devotee, of our bulk commons that we play, that shows up as a stellar card. I think it's been said multiple times in the Dargo Discord, but Prize Statue is probably the most tutored for non-creature spell in the whole list. It's 2 mana when it enters, and when it leaves, it makes a treasure. So this counts as 5 mana towards Dargo, and then leaves you with a treasure still. So you only need, if you play this, you only need one other thing to sacrifice to be able to cast Dargo for 1, and then it gives you a mana back after that. So you're able to do something like a Burnt Offering, or Culling the Weak, or a Sacrifice. Very, very good card. I have had many games where my turn 2 play was just tutor Prize Statue so that I could win on turn 3. I've already talked about Pyre of Heroes at length at this point. Like I said, just tutors up our interesting humans. We do have a Goblin synergy here. A lot of synergies come in and out of the list, and you'll see a lot. So, like, for example, one that I didn't mention is like Imperial Recruiter. You can play Imperial Recruiter, tutor up your Jolly Balloon Man, sacrifice Imperial Recruiter to the Pyre to get a Ruthless Technomancer, and then bada bing, bada boom, you have your combo. A lot of interesting things like that. But like I said, I've already gone over a lot of what's here, what's there to talk about. So, good card. I very much enjoy a Pirate Hero. Altar of the Wretched, I kind of mentioned briefly. I will mention now that it also combos with Breach and LED. 14 cards go to grave, and you're able to just one cast of LED is 3 casts of Dargo, and also it gets you your Altar of the Wretched back from the graveyard. It works out to where it's just a combo that wins. Sees more cards into the grave, and is net on mana, so works like that. Notably as well, Altar of the Wretched can return itself from your graveyard even if you don't have Reach. For 2 and a black, you can return it to your hand. I have multiple times. I think the most I've ever done without actually having seeing a win is sacrifice Dargo to Altar of the Wretched 3 times by just returning it to my hand and then recasting it. Because once you play it, you can recast Dargo, sacrifice it, and then use its ability to return to hand so you can recast it. Relic of Legends. It's been mentioned in passing a few times, but it's just that mana side to these combos. Bulls the Citadel. Not a whole lot to say about this card. One of the most powerful effects in all of Magic. Just results in you getting into your other wins. Very, very good card. Goblin Bombardment. It's like Altar of Dementia. It's just a sacrifice side to your sacrifice mana combos. Touch of Spirit Realm. I choose to take a hit on mana value here for the channel ability. A lot of people play Static Prison in this slot because it's just agnostic removal. This is also a little more niche in what it can hit than Static Prison, but I think it hits the things we need it to hit, and channel abilities are just busted. Being able to get rid of a piece effectively uncounterably is very, very, very strong. Underworld Breach. I don't think I have to talk about Underworld Breach, really. But most powerful win con in all of cEDH right here. Still very busted in this deck. Lets you do... Dargo allows you to do some very interesting things, and we're not just... Obviously, we don't even play Grinding Station. Dargo substitutes that. Altar of Dementia is effectively our Brain Freeze. We are a very good Breach deck due to Dargo. Yeah, enough said. Necropotence is very strange in Mardu. We don't really do the end step wins. We don't have flash enablers. We can, if you have Emergence Zone, or say you flip into a Final Fortune. Some people opt to play Chance for Glory for another instant speed extra turn because they want to rip deep on Necro. But generally, Necro is just draw 10-15 cards, sculpt for a win next turn. And that's good enough. A turn 2 Necro into a turn 3 win. Sometimes it can be a double protected win, you know? It's very hard to stop if it hits the battlefield. But it does not win on the turn normally. And I don't think I've even ever accomplished that because I don't like Necro that much. But it's there. It's an option. It's very hard to resolve, even though a lot of people know that we can't win an end step. It's still a very hard card to get onto the battlefield because it is so powerful. Smothering Tithe, better known as 4 mana Omniscience. We love treasures, we love mana. This makes them. It's good in slot games. It's just a very good card. Notably right now, though, I don't think it's correct to be playing Smothering Tithe in our deck, which sounds crazy, I know, but with the amount of decks whose whole game plan is to copy enchantments, introducing a Smothering Tithe in the game can be detrimental to us. We do not utilize it very well. I play, in my list, more instant speed interaction than most lists, and even then, I do not have that much. Touch, Swords, Silence, Orange Chant, Soul Partition is about it. And some people don't even play that. Some people aren't playing Touch, and they aren't playing Swords. So, and some people aren't even on Soul Partition either. So we can't really utilize mana on other people's turns effectively. So people will utilize Smothering Tithe better than we can. Almost guaranteed. That being said, we do have an option to switch for it. Knuckles is usually the main one because it is a sorcery speed Treasure generator, it gives us more treasures on the turn we play it, and in a higher density than Smothering Tithe will. If it comes down, since it has haste, it's generally making 2 treasures, but makes more than that. It's a very great Tymna attacker as well, so often you're getting treasures and cards out of it. Knuckles is a very good replacement for it. We can utilize Knuckles better than most decks can unlike Smothering Tithe. Another option for that I'm currently testing in my test list is Rev. She's also very good, but a little bit slower. So I'm seeing if the cards are worth it. That really brings us to the end of the list. You can see we're on a pretty low land count. If we want to look at lands, there's nothing super notable in the lands, but we're on a low land count. We're a Citadel deck. I've gone up to 24 lands to play a artifact land. I used to be at 23. The artifact lands are good. They help with Mox Opal, and notably they can be sacrificed to Dargo in a pinch. So, free Dargo sacrifice, turns on Mox Opal, so on and so forth. You can play any of the artifact lands. With the current build, the Villa's Ancient Den is probably not the correct one. I play it because I have a signed copy of it. It's very cool. Don't be like me. Do play the one that makes sense for the list, pip-wise. Phyrexian Tower is very strong. Sacrificing a Treasure Dork to Phyrexian Tower makes us 3 mana. I have many times gone Phyrexian Tower, Lotus Petal, or Mox Diamond into each, or Chrome Mox into a Treasure Dork, sacrifice a Treasure Dork, make an Echo Bones. Phyrexian Tower is just very, very good in this list. We want to sacrifice things. It makes 2 black mana, discounts Dargo by 2. Very, very good. Let's see. There's nothing else really notable in the lands. Cavernous Soul is very common. Just name human. We're basically human tribal. It makes a lot of things uncounterable, but uncounterable Voice of Victory, Ground Abolisher means that you have to have. It's basically Mind Break Trap, Subtlety, or Bust for most decks. Other than that, that's really all I have to go over for this list specifically. I know this was more of a little high-level overview, and I didn't get too deep into everything that there is to know about how these cards interact with the list and what the list is overall. Some closing notes. I do want to say I think our deck is very well positioned into the current Ristic slot meta. Jamming Abolisher still just works. But if you want to talk more about this deck's place in the meta, how it's feeling, more about the combos and card choices, and more in-depth discussions, come join us on the Dargo Discord. I'm very active there, and a lot of pilots are very active there. Most of the best pilots around, like Hebrew Hercules, Joey, Sylvie, are all active there and very willing to answer questions. So if you're interested in the list, come join us in the Dargo Discord. Feel free to leave comments on this list. I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can. You'll find links to both the Discord and the deck list in the description. I'll probably be posting another video on some mulligans and stuff. This video is already getting really long, so I don't want to clog it up at the end with mulligans. But if you're interested in that, comment down below, and we'll probably get some mulligans out here in the future. Have a good day.